What is a good debt to income ratio? I'm asked this question many, many times. And a lot of you that are kind of old school taught, you worry about this a lot. So I'm going to give you $1 trillion tip at the end on how to use good debt to arbitrage for the rest of your life. And I'll tell you what that is. But let's dive into a little bit of what is a good debt to income ratio for those of you, especially those of you that still have a job. So there are three things I want to talk about. Number one, I'm going to talk about good debt and bad debt and explain the difference because I'm a massive fan of good debt. And you can go all over my YouTube channel and look for and search for the term good debt, better credit card use, all of that. The second thing I want to talk about is DTI, which is your debt to income ratio. Banks look at this a lot, so it is important. Not as important as a lot of you think as you create wealth. So number three, let's talk about how do you create the wealth that you need to use good debt and arbitrage the way that anyone that I know that's a millionaire does. So let's begin. Good debt and bad debt. What is it? So first of all, good debt. Good debt is debt that is cheap. So in today's environment, anything I would say sub 4, like 3.5, 3, 2s, man, so if you can find debt in the 1 and 2 category, you are golden. So those are really like good debt assets, meaning your home typically is under that. Car. I know my plane loan was a 1.68 back in the day. So that's all really cheap debt. So why would you pay it off? Because remember, debt is the cost of money. That's it. How much do you get paid for it, or what are you paying to use it? So again, good debt is money that you can get and get it really cheap. And there are credit cards you can get for 0% for 21 months. There's a little fee to it, but really for 0% to use it for 21 months, how much could you make? What if you could make 12% as a hard money lender, or you're rehabbing a property or using it for some business growth, and you could make 12 and you were paying 0 for 21 months? Last I checked, that's quite a bit of money that you're going to just be printing cash. So good debt is a tool that the wealthy have used forever. And most of you, because you're so Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, old school trained that debt is the worst thing ever. And I would agree with them from a standpoint of bad debt. Just basic consumer debt because you're overspending on a bunch of junk you really don't need. Very different than good debt. And I do have to give kudos to Ramsey and Orman. I mean, they stay in their lane. They talk about how to get you safe and stable. That's not my lane. I'm the millionaire maker. I'm here to get you to grow. So I want you to take on good debt. I do want you to moderate and take down your bad debt. Now let's just talk about bad debt. Why do you have it? It's because you're outliving your paycheck. It's a pretty simple answer. And a lot of you probably haven't heard it that way. You're outliving your paycheck because you make, say, whatever, 4, 5, 6,000 a month, but you want to live on 8 or 9,000. So you put the extra couple thousand on a credit card to live. So what's the real answer? Is it to live within your means and reduce your spending and do all that? No, that is not the ultimate answer. If you want an $8,000 and $9,000 a month lifestyle and you're only making 4 or 5 or 6, make more money. Hello. Start a hustle, not a side hustle. Side hustles are like little bits of money, 500 to 1,000 little bits of money. And if you want like the side hustle, then go read my book, Put More Cash in Your Pocket. I'll put a link below. You can go grab an ebook copy from me, and that'll teach you how to do little side hustles. But I can promise you, having been in business and run as many companies, teams and systems is where the game is. So if you're going to start, you're going to do it right. You might as well just go for a hustle, which is a 6-figure business. That's only $8,333 a month. So you might as well just go for it. And really, you're making more money handles your bad debt problem. That's what millionaires do. That's what we're going to teach you to do, because I believe you can buy anything you want. You just have to make the money to have what you want. And good debt is what I'm going to teach you over and over about how to use and how to arbitrage it. And again, I'll tell you more at the end of the video. But let's get to the debt to income ratio, which is why you are here. I'm actually going to read the kind of Webster definition of it. So what is a debt to income ratio? DTI is what they call it. And why is it so important to you? So DTI stands for debt to income ratio. It's a financial metric that compares a person's monthly payments to their monthly gross income. So it's commonly used again by lenders and banks to determine whether a borrower is able to pay back a loan and to what extent. The higher your DTI indicates the higher level of debt relative to income, which can be seen as a big risk factor because you have more debt than you have income. Again, you're living a little upside down. So what's the answer? Make more money. Not difficult. As a general rule, the lower DTI is considered more favorable and can improve a borrower's chance of getting approved for a loan and have more favorable terms, which is lower interest rates and no prepayment penalties and things like that you can actually have a better negotiation. What is considered a good DTI ratio and how is it calculated? Let's just keep going down Webster style because that's what you all want to hear. Then I'm going to put some common sense perspective to it all. So a good DTI ratio is one that is, again, relatively low, indicates the borrower has a low amount of debt compared to their income, which means you're not overusing your credit cards. Now, those of you who have companies, that's a completely different game. So we're not talking about DTI at all when it comes to LLCs, S Corps, and C Corps. This is about you as the individual and your family. So as a general rule, a DTI ratio of 36% or less is a good ratio, and the banks are going to love it. However, some lenders like different standards and they want the ratios to be even less than that. So it's important to keep in mind that a low DTI ratio is one of many factors that a lender is going to consider as they look at your loan application, because other things they're going to look at is just your history. And again, those of you who actually live corporate life the way that I teach you, and if you don't know what that means, come to my Millionaire Intensive. I'll give you 2 tickets. They're below in the link. So click on the link below, grab 2 tickets. I'll see you at the next Millionaire Intensive. It's a Thursday from 10 o'clock Pacific to 6 o'clock Pacific. We put you in a marketplace. We teach you to make money and we teach you how to live corporate life. If you're looking at a DTI for you and your family, right, and buying a house or buying a car or whatever you're going to be doing inside your household, and you have a company, I want you to start integrating, because what I teach isn't a personal life and a professional life. You have an integrated life. And the more you integrate all of those with your corporate structures, the better this all gets for you. Corporate credit and corporate structure and corporate revenues are going to outperform that DTI all day long. And then you go into a very different class, I'm going to say, of lenders. There are lenders who just do alternative lending. Like the folks we work with are most of the folks that you can't find and you don't work with. Because most of the folks we work with, just like in health, there's the alternatives. Well, in wealth, there's the alternatives. So the healthiest and the wealthiest, by the way, we live in the alternatives. And they're much more difficult to find. They're not just on every street. And they, most of the time, and I'd say 99% of the time, aren't out on your little TV screen advertising. That's really old school, and they're not looking for the general public, looking for the wealthy. So if you're interested in any of this, subscribe to my channel, continue to learn from me, click that notification button right now, and share it with your top 5 or 10 friends. You cannot be in this money conversation by yourself. And sometimes I don't say sometimes, actually most of the time, the way you're processing what I say about money is from your old school training. So you're doing a comparison against like what you think things are supposed to be versus what I say, and then you make assumptions. And if your assumptions are off in some of these money categories, you're going to get hurt. So make sure you're always calling into our office. Go to askloral.com at any time. Ask me any question 24/7. That site is open and we have people attending to it and answering your questions 24/7. So make sure you're always out on that channel. If there's something out here you want me to talk about and I'm not, put it in the comment section and we'll be right back to talk about it. Now let's wrap up this debt to income ratio conversation that we're having. So 4 tips that are kind of general to improve your DTI, your debt to income ratio. Number 1, again, make more money. Come to my Millionaire Intensive. We just had one this past week and we had people literally making hundreds and thousands of dollars. Not hundreds of thousands, hundreds of dollars and then thousands of dollars. I think someone yesterday made about $3,000 or $4,000. Second thing is to reduce your bad debt. Now I'm not talking good debt, reduce your bad debt. So many of you have this old school premise that you want to go pay off your house or pay off your vehicle that's a 0% financing. That is not bad debt. So many of you think you've just got to be debt free. That's just going to feel good. What you really want is cash flow. And so managing for cash flow on expenses, so knowing you're going to be paying bills but also making money every month, that's the paradigm and really the pattern of money that you want to get into. Not being debt free and making money and then putting what in a mattress. I mean, come on, some of you have really weird money rules. So the third thing to improve your DTI is you could refinance your loans. Not a huge fan in this environment because interest rates are so high, and you could just restructure your total debt. So depending on what you've done to yourself, it's kind of a one-by-one decision, not one you should make on your own. So call our office. I'll put the number in the description below. So you can always call our number. I'll just say it out loud also for the screen, 775-588-9200. We are open, I shouldn't say just round the clock, but pretty much round the clock to answer your questions. Or I just go over to askloral.com. So jump jump into my Millionaire Maker book, and probably the book that's more important around this conversation for you is my Wealth Cycle Investing book. So go grab those on Amazon and dig in. There's nothing scary about money. There's nothing fearful about money. You just don't know about money. So lean in and learn and make this a year that's really important to you. So again, how do you create wealth? You got to make a lot of money. The pattern of the wealthy is you make a lot, you invest a lot, and you pay as minimum taxes as possible. So if that's you, I'm your girl. I got 28 financial people on my team that are experts, licensed, phenomenal professionals, especially in the tax strategy category. So in this category, let me talk about my $1 trillion tip, which is how do you arbitrage good debt? So you take good debt, which is anything, again, I'm going to say sub 3.5 for be the top part of that. So let's just say you can find some debt for 3%. Right? And a lot of you know the government gave this kind of money out at 3.3, 3.2. They're called EIDL loans. There are lending companies who will give you hundreds of thousands of dollars at a very, very low interest rate. So let's just say you could get $100,000 at 3%, and you found a place to invest that money at 12%. The spread, the difference is 9%. So yeah, you're $100,000 in debt, but you're making on that $100,000, you're making $12,000 a year. So there's a 9% spread. It's called an arbitrage. This is how banks make money. Financial institutes make money. Is you take money that's cheap, you invest it at a higher interest rate, you take the spread in between. That's how most millionaires are made. But a lot of you have got to get over this weird psychology that you have that debt's a bad thing. Debt used right is one of the biggest gifts and the fastest path for you to become a millionaire. We'll talk tomorrow.